So Nicole Malliotakis, one of the first to announce that she will be voting no, posting this on X. Everything I'm hearing about the CR thus far leads me to believe that I'll be voting no. Republicans in the majority, and yet the Democrats seem to get more of their priorities in than we do. Joining us now is New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Great to have you on this morning. So I see that you posted that yesterday afternoon. Has your stance on the bill changed at all? Do you still plan on voting against it? And what upsets you most about this?
Look, I think it's the process by which this came down. Earlier in the month, we were told that this was going to be a clean CR, which I think would have satisfied the majority of members. And I understand that, many of our members believe that we should not be adding anything to this. President Trump is coming in. We're going to have a Republican trifecta. Let's just get through with the basics to fund the government until January. The problem begins when you do open up this continuing resolution, and then you're giving more things to the Democrats than your own members. So with it, instead of negotiating within our conference to see what could satisfy members to get them a legislative win, if it doesn't cost any money, there were like all these giveaways to the Democrats. And I think that created a lot of angst and frustration. I think there's an overall issue here with the leadership. And I've expressed this. You have to try to give your members some basic legislative wins when you can. And it didn't necessarily need to be within a continuing resolution. Perhaps it should have just been a clean continuing resolution to fund our government and keep it open until we get President Trump sworn in. But at the end of the day, what does it take? What does it harm the leadership or anybody in this conference if members are able to put forth a piece of legislation, if it has no fiscal impact, that would be a win for them back home? And I think that, to me, is what is most frustrating about this process, is that the Democrats end up walking away with more legislative wins for their districts and their constituents, and then those of us who are trying to get last-minute legislative items across the finish line aren't seeing that type of progress.
Congresswoman, we had Speaker Johnson on earlier at the top of the hour, and he had mentioned that the disaster funding obviously hit primarily red areas, rural areas, the farm bill extension, the subsidies to help out farmers who are struggling. There's not many blue farm districts. Those are all huge Republican wins in this package.
And I agree. I certainly, I don't have any farmers in my district in New York City, but my constituents eat, right? So I understand the importance of the farmers, and we want to make sure that they are protected and that they don't go out of business. But at the end of the day, we have much more than just these rural districts that have farmland. I represent a district in Staten Island in southern Brooklyn. I'm the only Republican within the city of New York that's in Congress. And come next year, I'm going to be the only majority legislator from the city of New York, because thankfully we were able to demote Chuck Schumer. But what I will say is that there has to be more of a member-driven approach here, right? Where we're taking what are the top priorities of our members and see what could we do. So we can get some of these legislative items off the table by the end of the year. So when we come in next year, because remember, we're going to be very inundated with so many problems, right? We need to secure the border, number one. We need to get our energy domestic production up again, and we need to deregulate some of these burdensome regulations that have prevented investment in our country and manufacturing in our country. And so what I would say is that, these little things at the end of the year, if we're able to achieve these things, we should be doing them. And I don't see that member-driven process. Gotcha. I see 4 men in a room negotiating something and kind of keeping us in the dark.
Before I let you go, I got to ask you about the drones that we're seeing in the New York and New Jersey area. President Biden finally broke his silence on this situation yesterday. Take a listen to this.
Nothing nefarious, apparently, but they're checking it all out. I think it's just one. There's a lot of drones authorized up there. I think one started and they all got it. Everybody wanted to get in the deal.
All right. I don't think that there are drones the size of SUVs authorized to be flying in neighborhoods. What do you make of all of this?
Well, Joe Biden was just in my district visiting the Coast Guard. He should come back and he should see what is actually going on, because we have seen these flying objects, whether they are drones or unmanned aerial systems or small planes that have been flying above military installation, including the Coast Guard base that he just visited a couple of weeks ago for Thanksgiving, as well as sensitive infrastructure like the Verrazano Bridge. And on the other side of that Verrazano Bridge, you have an Army installation. And so the fact that my NYPD, my Army installation, my Coast Guard are all in the dark about what these flying objects above their facility are is a problem. And, they're trying to convince us that they're stars. One of their leaders there, DHS, and now Kirby actually was the one on TV the other day saying that they're just stars. In some cases, it's ludicrous to try to tell the American people this. They need to come clean and tell us what this is all about, because it's creating a lot of concern and anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely. Congresswoman, always great to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.